fucking dickweed.
And now the tourists are being let in.
I'm so sorry.
They're coming through. Not at this point. They're not even checking anything. They're not checking IDs. They're not checking reservations. They're just waving people through. And in line with them are tourists. This is crazy. We have no power yet in Lahaina.
And it's like, that's the first thing I saw. People stranded for hours at the airport in Hawaii because they were on vacation.
We're going to cause more accidents.
And it's like, are you seriously, that's what you're focused on?
Who was a tourist who didn't even know that when no lights are on, it's a four-way stop, and he kept going and caused an accident.
What the fuck?
And there are people grieving.
2 days ago this happened. Where some guy was honking on a red light. We're like, what the fuck is going on?
But hey,
how do you get your fucking license when you think in Montreal, like in the city, they fucking turn on a red light? There's like 6 cars in front of him. I'm like, you think all these fucking people in front of you don't know how to drive?
The mayor's office. We need to blow up the governor's office and tell them that is not okay. That is not okay.
My heart really goes out to Hawaii and the Lahaina natives. My husband and I will be donating as soon as we find a reputable portal to do so. We visited Honolulu and really enjoyed the history and the beauty of the island. But right now, the natives do not need visitors. They do not need intruders. What they need are donations and essential supplies. So they are asking that if you have reservations or a trip plan to Maui, that you use that money to actually donate to the people of Lahaina.
Yeah, but it's not going to get, it's never going to get to them. Obviously, the trucker protest, I'm pretty sure we proved that during the trucker protest.
Their entire home. And according to Maui
if they don't want,
Development Board, tourism
if they don't want poor people to get help, they'll make sure that poor people will stay down.
So the devastation from the wildfires could have a long-lasting impact on Maui's economy. Please cancel your vacations and donate that money to the natives. Now, allegedly, there have been plans in the past to turn Maui into a smart city or an AI city. So, yeah, the locals are looking at this fire very suspiciously. There were no warnings. There were no alarms. So my heart and my pockets do go out to the people of Maui. I will keep you guys posted on what's going on.
Well, now we have the opportunity to rebuild. It'll be even better.
And I'll see you at the next video.
Like white people just fucking being white. Let's cut down a tree so we can plant a littler tree next to it. I just I don't really know what to say at this point. Other than I just
mistakes. You've done stuff wrong. You've had stuff done too. Make all of this.
I'll just be on standby until the natives tell me what to do. Because it seems like everywhere there is a native reserve, there's also now a fire, which is pretty fucking typical. We just you lose, you fucking set it on fire, you win, you set it on fire. Well, it wasn't exactly the way I wanted it. It's like, fuck, you guys are just terrible. They don't care. They just don't care. Oh. Ooh.
For the world economic system, it seems like the messaging that's coming from the mainstream media, the elites who gather at the World Economic Forum, central banks around the world, and so on, it seems to be that digital currencies will eventually replace the cash in our pockets. Of course, despite this being painted as a great convenience to the average person, in reality, having everyone on a central bank digital currency would allow the federal government to control our lives like never before.
Oh,
Here,
yeah, but
governments
like
can make
if
the
you've
money that
always
they give to us
been
in
poor,
so that we have to spend on certain things. They can make the money unusable in certain industries. So, for instance, you would not be able to buy a gun. Also,
yeah, but like I'm
technology
like 3
develops
generational
first, you'll be
financial
able to
debt.
hide
Like
digital money in your quote-unquote pocket to some other type
it's
of profile that you
hilarious.
have
Like
in your system,
I
like
was
what China does
in
with
the
their
negatives
credit score.
before
However,
I
great
was
as all
even
that sounds,
conceived.
the truth is that despite the fact
So
that digital currencies are being discussed and touted on the front end as the future of money, behind the scenes, on the back end, central banks around the world are buying up physical gold and bullion at record rates.
like I
like never
have to
before.
hope
According to the
that
most
when my
recent data,
parents
which
die,
just for reference,
I have
always
to
lags
hope
behind
that
by a few
I'm not
months.
going to be
Central banks were
responsible for
once
any
again
debt they
net
might have.
buyers of gold in the month of May. For instance,
Anyway,
Poland
whatever.
and China each bought up 16 tons of gold. Singapore bought up 4 tons. Russia, 3 tons. India, the Czech Republic, Iraq, and Kyrgyzstan, 2 tons
Canada
each. And just
just
as a
so
fun
happened to
aside,
lose about
ever
20
since
million on
they
a commercial
restarted
flight.
releasing their reports of their gold purchases, which happened about 8 months ago, the Central Bank of China has added at least 144 tons to their official gold holdings, which now sit at approximately 2,000 tons. Although, like with anything else, Chinese official numbers are always unreliable, but that's at least what they officially are. Regardless, as the US dollar's place in the global economy gets weaker and weaker, and as more countries are ditching the US dollar for other methods of payment, well, there are some countries which are actually working to create a new world currency that's backed
use it
by
as
gold.
currency.
In fact, the BRICS nations will be having a meeting next month in August down in South Africa, where they will be discussing exactly that. Now, of course, whether that will wind up happening and coming to fruition is still up in the air. It's not exactly clear. But the reality is that behind the scenes, regardless of what they say, major players are accumulating gold for whatever they believe will come in the near future. And so, along that line, I took the opportunity to speak with Mr. Max Baker, who's the president of American Hartford Gold, who is, for one of America's largest gold bullion dealers by volume. They're my personal gold dealer. And also, for full transparency, they've been a sponsor of this program for a while now, and we appreciate them for that. And I spoke with Max about what the gold market looks like right now, what effect these giant players like these central banks are having on the price of gold, as well as what, at least in his opinion, the near-term future for the market
That's
might look like.
hilarious.
So consider smashing those like and subscribe buttons.
It's literally all coming
So
out
a lot of
of
central banks are once again stockpiling gold. The recent numbers came out showing that central banks across the
Make sure you
world
keep
in
it away
Europe,
from
Asia,
airplanes.
Africa, Oceania, they're all stockpiling gold. Why do you think that is?
You know, central
Oh
banks
my
buy
God.
gold for the same reason.
Because
the
you
average
made
retail
our
investor
money
buys gold.
worthless by saying
they're
that
buying it as a
Bitcoin
hedge
is going to be
against
the next
fiat currency.
revolution
You know, they're
and
valuing
everybody's
currency
not going
left
to be
and
poor
right by
anymore.
creating a ton of it. So central banks are following suit.
It was
with
monopoly
retail
money
investors
to begin
and retail investors
with.
following suit with
Like
central
credit
banks.
cards, like
Follow
the
what
stock
central banks are
market.
doing. They're
This
the
is
first to know.
fictional
And
money.
central banks see all the
It's a
money
bunch
being
of people
printed,
who claim that they're
over the past
super
34
rich.
years, we've printed a ton
And
of
we're
money.
going to make
They're seeing
everybody
that.
super
They're seeing that we're
rich.
heading towards
And they
recession
didn't have
because
any
banks aren't
money to
lending.
begin with.
Credit conditions are tightening
And then
rapidly.
Daddy
And
went
because
and
of that, they're
fixed the
stockpiling
problem
gold because they know it's coming.
by throwing a
So
bunch of business
when
poor
that
people
happens,
in
when
jail
you have
saying
big
they're
players like
criminals.
central bankers buying up gold by the ton, what does that do to the price of gold? Does that increase pressure for it to come up?
You
Wow.
know, what it does is it helps gold maintain its price, like basically a support level. You won't really see gold move up $50, $100 to $300 at a time.
It
until
is
the dollar pulls
your
back.
fallback.
We saw that in 2008. when the dollar
Yeah,
fell,
and then in
you
the
know,
Great Depression
70
again.
on the index there, fell from 90 down to 70.
It's
And we head into
supposed to
another
be
recession
when
this
our
fall, this
currency
winter, you'll
is
see that
going
again.
to
You'll
shit.
see the dollar fall, and that's when you
We
see gold
start
really rise. But when
to
central
trade
banks
our
buy,
gold
it
and
offers
silver
tremendous support.
until our dollar goes
One
back
thing
to
I've always
normal.
wondered is when you have central banks like for instance the Central Bank of China
It's been like
recently
2
put
years
out the
of my
numbers,
nana.
and all
Back of
central
my
banks
head.
like that, where they purchased tons of gold, right? That
I heard on the news, well, your gold is about
When
to
that
be
happens,
fucking
are they
worthless. You might as well bring it to the
from
pawn shop, but you
miners
still can.
directly and then sending
I
it
was
to
like,
their local,
wait
local mints
a
that
second.
then put into bars to be put aside in their version of
Something's fucking
whatnot.
super not okay,
They're
obviously.
buying it from their trusted refiners, from trusted accredited refineries, and then those are being sent off to wherever they want to store it. And then some governments, like the U.S. government, will send some of it, to New York, to a COMEX vault, They'll send it to the U.S. Mint to mint Silver Eagles. So they're buying from accredited refiners.
While we're on the topic of central banks, this isn't exactly a central bank question, but the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America, with a few other countries trying to join that union, they put out a statement recently saying that they are working on a gold-backed global currency to kind of compete with the U.S. dollar.
Bitch.
So on August 26th is when they're going to be having their meeting in, I believe it's Cape Town, South Africa. And that's when they're due to announce this new currency.
One of the most legit places in the world, I'm
do you have any
sure.
thoughts or opinions on that? What do you think that's about, and what do you think that'll do to the price?
I don't care about people's opinions. I
You
care
know,
about
it's certainly
factual
going to be a
evidence.
bit of a blow to the dollar. You know, if you can transact in a currency that's backed by gold, that's a strong currency.
We
So
were
that's a
backed
blow to
by
the dollar, first and
gold,
foremost.
and you guys
So when you
fucked it
see
up
that
with your
dollar pull back,
Bitcoin
whether it's
shit.
recession, money printing, because of
The
use of another
fuck?
currency, it's very bullish for the price of gold. Not to mention if they're having to buy up gold to back this currency, if it becomes wildly popular, you can imagine that demand for gold is up, dollar is down, so you have two factors there, resulting in a very, very bullish sign for gold.
It's not bullish, it's stupidity. It's just pure
Let's say
stupidity.
that currency
Because you
is
don't need to be an
we have
economics major to know what's
we don't know
happening.
the details of it, but let's just assume it's actually going to be backed by currency, whether it's a ratio of 1-to-1 or 5-to-1, whatever the ratio is. If they want to,
We're gonna be like
expand it,
Venezuela. We're gonna
they
be weighing
can't
out our
just,
money.
do the
You're
same
not
thing
even
that
gonna be
the Fed
counting our
does.
money. We're gonna
They
be
would
weighing
have
it.
to actually buy up gold in order to issue more notes, right?
That's right.
So I didn't think of that.
Like, I'm not
Actually,
an
in that case,
economics major.
that would
I am
naturally drive the
no
price
way
up,
good
and it
at
would create a
money,
floor at
but
the same
I
time.
understand
The
what flooding a
floor would,
market
I would imagine,
is.
just continue rising because of that currency.
That's
It'll be an
right.
interesting
You don't
experiment.
get something for nothing
Yeah.
ever in life.
Here's another question. This one actually came up quite often in regards.
Everything you
when I asked
take,
our viewers and they wrote it back.
not you're just gonna have to
This is
give
the
it
question. Well, this
back.
is the representative. Also,
But you're
is the
gonna
price
give
of
it
gold
back
and silver
and then
being
give
artificially
something
kept
to
low
the person
due to the
who
amount
you
of
took it
paper
from
metal
initially?
versus the actual metal? And
Fucking
in other words,
idiots.
are gold prices or futures being manipulated to keep gold at a certain price? Okay, so I guess that's sort of the same question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and absolutely. Look, there's many different ways that you can trade gold right now that don't involve physical gold whatsoever. And because of that, you can create more gold than actually exists, right? You can create contracts depending on what kind of funds you're in, what kind of ETFs you're
Oh
in.
my fucking
A lot of
shit.
those ETFs and funds don't actually own the physical gold. So they're trading gold, paper gold back and forth with a certain price, fixed price. There's no actual physical gold being transacted. So, or moved from place to place. So if you were to force their hand and say, hey, you're not able to trade gold until you're actually moving gold 1-to-1,
And then
you can
not
imagine
losing
the
it on
price
the
of gold is going to
airplane.
skyrocket.
That also
There's that much
helps.
more demand from these funds and from these ETFs that actually have to then back whatever they're trading with the physical ounce of gold. So it is certainly being suppressed. You see news stories every couple months about banks being penalized for spoofing, for suppressing the price of gold. Probably the largest one in recent history was the J.P. Morgan spoofing that is being done. They were fined $920 million for that. But you see those stories all the time. It's certainly being suppressed. It's certainly being held back. And again, I think if you're trading,
What the fuck is wrong with you people? You are the worst criminals I've ever heard of in my life. You guys are
times 5, 10x.
Yo.
Do you think it's being suppressed that much? Like basically,
Absolutely.
Guys.
So this is another question that was raised. What is the best way to buy gold if you think you might need to use it as everyday currency someday?
Go to the pawn shop.
If we're ever in that type of situation,
go to some garage sales.
We have investors buying gold as an insurance policy, as a hedge against the dollar, a hedge against whatever they have in the banks, a hedge against the stock market recession, all that. If we're ever into a scenario where we're actually having to pay for things in gold, that's a bad scenario.
No,
in
it's
that
really not,
scenario, something has happened to the dollar. Gold is north of 10,000.
Something has happened to the dollar.
The financial
there were no
system
dineros.
globally is completely.
You had a bunch of dumb little
out.
bitch boys.
And with that, you're not going to want
spend a bunch of money that they never had.
You're not going to want a 10-ounce bar or even a 1-ounce coin or bar. You're going to want fractional gold. That's going to be the easiest way to transact. So in that, look for the smallest.
Or you'll need to know how to make a DIY smelting.
Take a $10,000 gold coin to someone and say, hey, goods and services. That's
Yeah.
it.
So, it's funny, you mentioned smaller denominations, and I read this article just earlier in the week.
At least you
about
have
this pop-up
the thing
concept in
to
South
show
Korea
that
where
you're
people
not
can,
full of shit.
go there to it's like a little kiosk.
This is
It's just
insanity.
like a vending machine in the mall. You saw that, and you can just use your credit card or cash. You put it in. You choose which small denomination of gold you want. You hit the button, and it just comes out. So that was in South Korea. That reminded me of other stories I'm reading about India, how the demand for gold and silver jewelry is going up. How in China the demand for gold and silver bullion is going up. People are using that for savings.
Oh, wow.
And I'm wondering whether there's and also when you look at the central banks who are buying up gold the most, they're in Asia. It appears that's what's happening. The Asian central banks are buying up gold the most.
You people are the dumbest people I've ever known in my life.
Like even in the U.S., they have a huge stockpile, but they're actually selling off.
I thought I was
so
dumb.
like there might be
not smart.
Sort of a shift from west to the east, just like how we saw after the World Wars. There was a shift from Europe to America, all the gold going here to pay for the services we're providing.
All the gold in Canada at one time was held in the Sunlight Building, in the basement of the Sunlight Building. And it was guarded by one Mountie, and he did not steal a thing.
Question one, if that's the case, how can the average investor here in America sort of use that to their advantage?
Past 10, 20 years, the East has been a big consumer of physical gold. You mentioned India, China. They understand the value of gold, that it has now.
Yeah, probably because they were eating bugs at one point. So yeah, I'm sure they know gold is pretty important.
These massive
It doesn't
bubbles,
take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
On something tangible that again is no one's IOU, no counterparty risk to it at all. So I wouldn't say that it's moving from west to east. I would think that it's more being consumed just about everywhere. I think America is waking up to that fact, and we're seeing consumption of gold really pick up here. Our business is up 400% over the past couple of years. People are really starting to pay attention to the fact that I need a little bit of insurance on my money. So globally speaking, people are waking up to that fact. That they feel a little bit more comfortable having gold as a part of their investment portfolio, or they feel more comfortable having a little bit of gold as opposed to having all that in their savings account making no interest.
Because that's not how life works.
With the rise of government,
you don't get just to have money and then be like, here, I'm just going to leave this here.
Or not, I mean, they're being developed right now.
And I'm going to assume that when I come back, it's going to be bigger than before.
Digital dollar, I lose
just because
control of
I
my
put it
money.
here.
I lose privacy. I lose a lot of things with that, because it means demand for gold is going to pick up, enormously over the next couple of years as it starts to become a reality.
But Putin bought it all already.
Reason being, people are going to still want something that
he told his citizens, hey, you guys want to use your minerals to pay for stuff? Go ahead. You were able to go to the grocery store with your fucking necklace and then just be like,
and so I expect demand to pick up significantly as a digital dollar becomes closer and closer to adoption.
And when you mentioned that, it reminded me that
it won't be, because people will starve to death.
Some momentum in the direction of creating.
If there's no money to put in the account,
Texas recently passed a
there's
bill,
no account to have.
saying that they will be establishing.
People will
starve
to
as
death.
The rise of CBDCs is happening. You also do have a kind of a opposite effect where people as individuals, but also even states that are not down with the program, they're moving back towards a more gold. Because
Not down with the program.
Great functions.
I'm sorry, is
you don't trust the
Bitcoin
government?
not been convincing enough
you don't want to
that
have your life be transparent
this
to some
might
bureaucrat?
not actually
You
be
should
what
move towards
people
gold that has
are
all
trying to
those
make it
functions.
sound like?
So
It sounds like
one
fake
thing
monopoly money.
I wanted to mention.
out.
Recently, I
Your
watched this
brain
documentary
doesn't
about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
advance enough to
It was on Netflix.
understand
It's a documentary.
how great
And
Bitcoin
in
really
his
is.
story, he said that when he
Please
moved
explain
from
it to me,
Austria
Lucy, because I'm pretty
to
sure
the
the
US
bank just took
in
it.
1968,
The
before he
point
moved,
was
he
supposed
saved
to
up
be so the banks
$27,000
can't regulate
US
it.
dollars. So in Austria, he saved up
The whole point
$27,000
of
and moved
Bitcoin.
to the US, and that was 1968. And in that article I was reading, where it mentioned this figure, it said that, 1968, $27,000. And then it said in 2023, that's equivalent to, do you know the number?
No, I don't, but it's got to be at like 5x.
It's 7x. So
7x.
I couldn't. I had to double check it because I couldn't believe it. So 1968, he saved up $27,000. In today's money, that's $236,000.
Wow.
And I read that, I'm like, that's in one man's not even whole lifetime.
Yeah.
He was already 20 by
Yeah.
that point. So that's in just
Yeah,
the last
That's
50
concerning
years.
as fuck.
It's a 773% inflation rate.
I think I've been living
And
off
so I went
garbage
back
my
and
whole
I
life.
crunched some numbers. So if in 1960, so I was thinking, so if in 1968 I had $27,000, how would I preserve my purchasing power? 'Cause
Well,
if I
definitely
just
don't put it in
stock,
war bonds.
under my bed, at the in 50 years
Yeah,
I'm gonna have $27,000.
that's what I wanna do.
Can't buy a
I want to
house.
shit on my mattress.
Literally buy a nice.
I don't want a bank account. I don't need a bank account.
If you bought
I
gold,
don't need it as to fucking finance or
you'd be
fucking
able to
budget my
purchase
fucking no money
620 ounces of gold. That's
I
$27,000.
for my
And in
bank account
today's money,
to just be
that would
there.
be worth 1.2 million. So that's a 4,600.
Otherwise, I don't get to cash my fucking paycheck.
And then I looked up the Dow Jones and S&P 500, and it's significantly more than that. The Dow Jones would only give you a 3,000% increase, and the S&P 500 would give you a 4,100%
You know, I can't pay rent
increase. So,
without a
gold
bank
beat out
card.
the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. So basically, if Arnold had bought gold at that time, he would be way ahead of inflation significantly.
It's funny you say that. I
I
have some
can't
friends
get
that are
my
on the
paycheck
equity
without a
side of
bank
things,
card.
and occasionally they'll throw a jab and
Unless
say,
I work for the
you're
natives.
a doom and gloomer. You're just rooting for bad things to happen. I say absolutely not. I believe in insurance, and actually gold has outperformed the S&P more than 2 to 1 since the year 2000.
Join us down here. The middle class has already started to join us down here in reality land. Because they have the fanciest little tent city going on over in Toronto.
2 to 1. Dollar has lost half of its purchasing power since the year 2000. Dollar has lost 17% of its purchasing power since the year 2020. So gold has gone north, the dollar has gone south. So you're absolutely right. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
See, now I don't know if we're speaking metaphorically or
in history, gold performs. It does its job as insurance, and certainly in Arnold's case, it would have made him a tremendous amount of money had he put that into gold.
So one thing I was thinking when I was reading this, so the price of gold in 1968 was $43 per ounce, an average. Of course, it fluctuated in that year, but let's say $43 per ounce. And this year, it's, let's say, just under 2,000. Let's just say that. And so, but over the last 2 years, right, during the years of the pandemic, the Federal Reserve printed 80% of all U.S. dollars that are in existence. They created 80% of the M1 money supply in the last 2 years that has ever come into existence. And so, here's my question to you.
Because the carrot means the density of the gold,
scenario
right?
Where just like the price of Bitcoin went from like $100 and then a year later was $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for one Bitcoin. In my head,
how does that work
I have
out?
this scenario because of these facts, because of the way that gold outperforms inflation, and that inflation was at a kind of a normal inflationary period, whereas now in the last 2 years, 80% of all money was created. Is there a scenario where gold can actually just shoot up because of some event that happens, right? It just shoots up, just like Bitcoin did in an astronomical fashion, whereas now it's $2,000, and then all of a sudden it's $10,000, $20,000.
No, because
or is that just my wishful thinking, and
bought all the
that's
gold,
not a
and now
scenario?
China's buying the rest of it.
No,
Canada
I
is
look
no
at the
longer
money supply, and I see that as well.
epitome
and
of the
hit
gold
the
reserve.
price of gold just
So
yet.
good job to everybody.
We need the dollar to pull back significantly in a recession scenario,
Are they going to do that?
Financial crisis scenario.
Are they going to do
So
that?
if you see the dollar
They've been talking
react the way
about
it
recession
did
for
in
2
2008,
fucking years, I'm so done
2011,
because
pull back dramatically.
recession
That's when you're
would have
gonna
been
see the
great
big
2
spike
years
in
ago.
gold. That's when
We've
you'll
been
see
in
the,
stagnation
don't make
for
any calls,
like
but
2
if the dollar
fucking
falls like
years,
it did in 08 through 11,
and
you're
a
going to see
stagnation
$3,000,
that has
$4,000,
not been
gold.
seen.
And
ever.
so right now the dollar is maintaining its strength a bit. It's being traded with, and we haven't felt really that big financial crisis, that big. Obviously, we had the bank crisis.
Yeah, but like stagnation like this has
That's
never
gonna continue
before
to
been
fall
seen
from
because at least our
positive
government
interest
was just
rates,
like,
all these
oh
bad real
shit, they're
estate
starting to
loans
figure it
come
out.
due, the commercial real estate loans come due.
And now they're
But
just
we
like,
haven't had
yeah,
that
they're
big
figuring it
financial
out.
crisis yet, or that big
So?
recession yet for that dollar to pull back and gold to really
We have
accelerate
different
forward.
financial classes for a reason.
In terms of the gold mining side, a lot of people are kind of interested in what's going on there. Are you seeing any trends on the mining side that you think can be a predictor of where the price of gold is going to be in the future?
Oh, you mean like if there's a gold mine anywhere on your property, the government will just come take it.
And right now it's getting harder and harder to find the gold, find the stores of gold in the crust of the earth.
Because you
It's getting
guys
harder
are
and harder to
literally saying
extract
there's
that
gold,
from the earth.
and it's not
And
even
there's been
really in
several
existence.
studies done that said
Just like you did
we'll
with
be out of
Bitcoin,
gold by
just like you did with the stock market, just like you did with people's credit cards.
Unsustainable to mine gold.
Unsustainable meaning that it'll be too expensive. The gold you're getting out of the ground, you can't justify the amount of money.
Do we not have a bunch of people in your work, or
too many resources to find that gold,
resources.
Too many resources to
Okay.
extract that gold from the earth, and at that point, it's basically a net loss.
So basically, according to that study, by 2050,
okay, you say so.
the amount of gold that's above ground will sort of.
Is there some in Hawaii?
I guess it'll be diminished because
Or northern
Quebec. That piece of gold that isn't coming back, right? So that's interesting.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Super
And
interesting.
obviously demand from the central banks.
$5 is
demand
everywhere
from-
there's a
from
wildfire
retail
right now. There
investors,
just so happens to be a potential
certainly
gold mine.
It's getting harder and harder for these miners to
Unbelievable.
pull it up from the ground, and that'll only
Fucking
result in a
believable.
positive outcome on the price of gold and silver.
Interesting. Do you know, based on the cost of mining, what would be like the floor of gold? Like, what's basically their break?
I don't know. How much is a shovel at Canadian Tire?
Yeah, I've heard several figures over the years. Right
Go get a
now,
shovel.
at about $1,100 is where it becomes unsustainable.
Yeah, that type of figure is interesting to me because I remember when the pandemic kicked off and the price of silver just collapsed to like something like $11.
Yeah.
I remember
13.
I read an article saying that basically it costs the silver miners something like exactly like $12, like basically $12. If the price of silver goes below $12, they're going to stop mining because it's no longer profitable. So when it went down to 11, I'm like,
if you had not started fucking talking to me like Jesus H. Christ.
That's right.
So I started fucking literally schizophrenic hearing
I'm
my
always
fucking
thinking about in
nano.
terms of silver.
Dead for
I have a
years.
decent position in silver, and I think about the fact that it's mined.
I don't hear Jesus.
But unlike
I heard
gold,
elderly
a lot
people
of
went through the
silver
Great
is actually
Depression
used
and
in
just
not
like whoop
retrieve.
whoop whoop, like
So,
casual
whether
score when they
they're
scored a
parts
goal.
or different,
They stole at the
industrial
cool point.
products.
Yeah, they use that, and they use palladium in those. as
Oh
well.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember palladium also went through it at some point.
Yeah.
But I know EVs specifically use a solid amount of silver, and that's going to be hard to retrieve. So silver is like this unique metal where it has a really strong industrial use. So so the stuff coming out of the ground isn't necessarily what's available in the market in let's say 20 years because it's going to be used up and then discarded.
Yeah. That's right.
True. That's true. That's true.
So
Carats.
you think
That's why we have
just the EV
we measure gold by carat.
force demand by
Because
the
the
government
density.
California, Europe,
So they're
Canada,
not all
there's,
standard
New York,
like
they're mandating
by
that
weight,
certain percentage
like
of
a
vehicles are
specific
going to
price.
be
It depends on the
electrified,
carat.
2030 to 2035, that will invariably cause the price of silver to go up because there'll be more silver maybe coming out of the ground to meet the demand, but it'll be going into the hands of the
It's
the
way harder to
manufacturers who might
find.
actually stockpile it, right? They might sign more and more futures contracts, and they might get the price up. So in your opinion, is silver a good bet right now as compared to gold because of that trend?
I like silver. It is a little more volatile than gold. You can wake
It's
up
more
one morning,
durable.
it's down 3%. And it's like, oh my god,
Way more durable.
down, but it also moves
Harder to
very
find.
quickly to the upside.
Yeah. That's
If
true.
you
That's true.
can stomach it, silver will get you
Because
a better return.
Gold
in my
is more
opinion.
of a
It's just so affordable right now. The
what do you
demand
call it?
is just heating up for it on the physical side with investors. As you said, EVs are about to take off.
What's the word I'm looking for? Oh my
Mandates coming
god.
in place where we're going to be producing more and more EVs, and with that, it's not as though silver we're going to be mining.
It's
anymore,
more
but it's the same as gold mining. Silver mining is becoming
type.
harder and harder.
Like
more and
people
more
use it
expensive.
for
with
gifting
that,
more than they use
hit
it
peak silver on the mining
for
side of things.
producing
So you have
stuff
these mining companies spending
or needing
millions
it to
and millions
produce
and,
stuff.
billions of dollars to find new areas to mine, and they're coming up empty. So if it's getting harder,
So let's
to find
burn
the
everything
silver,
to the
harder
ground.
To mine the silver, and now you're getting all this increased
What do you
demand
call
on the
the
EV side
911
of things,
place?
as well as the
Zero
investor side of things,
thing?
because we're printing money
Ground
like
zero?
crazy. And obviously, silver reacts well when the dollar pulls back.
Maybe we'll find some lithium at the same time.
You're getting both those vehicles pushing silver up. So I think silver's a great play right now.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school.
No, because you still need the
silver was
lithium.
$5 an ounce. And back then, I didn't know any better. I would have jumped in head first. But that's sort of what I also think about this one now. Sometimes I'm watching the price and I'm like, well,
I'm
like
an idiot, obviously, that's why.
Should I buy? Then it goes up to like 25. I'm like, well, should I wait till it goes down to like 22?
No,
but then I kind of remind myself, like, well, let me dollar cost average in, right? Because looking back, if I was still in high school, it didn't matter whether I bought at 490 or 610, right? Because that range, it doesn't matter. It's still the range that's significantly lower than what it is now. This one also came up a few times. So if let's say somebody gets gold into their IRA account, is that paper gold or is it stored somewhere? How does that work?
You're giving them
You're
giving the people who are robbing you your money.
Gold, they're actually buying the physical gold and silver that they own.
I wonder why.
Sent from our vault to one of 6 vaults of their choosing. Typically, our clients like to put it at the vault closest to them.
Make sure it's far away enough from an airport.
But, it's shipped from our vault to the vault of their choosing. It's in their
unless they
locker,
lose it in transit.
Locker. And so it's very much physical. And from there, if they want to take
stealable.
distributions of that physical gold, they can.
Guess our security was all theater, wasn't it?
So I guess my last question is that it seems like no matter what happens in the short term, there are so many systemic problems with the economy. We've mentioned some of them: the banking sector, the markets in general, the ballooning national debt. We didn't even get into this, but the commercial real estate disaster that's looming in the horizon with I forgot the exact numbers, but something like maybe over 30% of commercial real estate in large cities not being utilized right now.
Yep, that's true.
So basically something eventually has to break. Do you have any final words on how to use gold as a hedge against the uncertainties of the current situation, and the only certainty being that the dollar will definitely lose its value even more so over time. That's just the way the system is designed. Then the only other certainty is that something will eventually break.
Again, there's just so much debt,
called
so
the
much
bubble.
money created.
It's called the bubble is popping.
Rates, that's why we're starting to see
this is so
break,
stupid.
like
I cannot
SVB,
believe how
like
stupid
First
people with money are. Honestly, the banks are the whole fucking problem.
$2 trillion.
The banks are the whole reason this all happened. Because the same fucking people who back in the day were like, hey, put your fucking money in war bonds. Put your money in fucking IRS. So that your kids in the future could be fat, lazy pieces of shit that call it Bitcoin now.
And for an economy to
fucking
expand,
assholes.
you need banks to lend, right? You need them to lend, you need to hand out money.
You guys fucked all of us.
Make those loans grow. Right now we're at a place where banks are not lending at all.
Like I'm not smart at all. I'm so fucking bad with money and numbers. But like this is just like fuck it.
Now, even with perfect credit, banks are not lending.
Either you're full retard or you're so unbelievably in denial. It's not just a river in Egypt.
That's when you're going to start to see things break and fail. And again, you buy gold.
No, it's dud. The damage is dud.
Not what you know. And having gold as an insurance policy just makes sense right now. There's 12 different things that can go wrong right now in the geopolitical side of things, the banking sector, the dollar, the stock market. So there's a lot of reasons to have that insurance policy. And I'm one of those people that, I hope you buy gold and I hope it goes down. I hope it goes down in price because that means that the rest of your investments are doing well. That means that the economy is doing well. Everything's, thriving. But unfortunately, we're at a point right now with all the money printed, with some of the things we have going on, and the banking sector, with the debt bubbles created, with Jerome Powell having to raise interest rates because of inflation.
Was it all
that
unprecedented?
pretty
Is
soon
my
there's going to
question.
be a price to pay. And again,
There's
I don't know
always
how
a
severe it's
price to
gonna be,
pay.
but
Like,
I
what
sleep
planet
well at
do
night
you
knowing
live
that a
on?
portion of my money's in physical gold.
Honestly,
It's
like, you
the end-all,
fucking
be-all, no
Bitcoin bros
counterparty
fucking
risk.
just, like,
Everything else is
honestly,
just
if there was any chance for the Western world to not collapse, you guys did everything wrong. I just hope the natives take pity on my poor, poor white soul. Because they're real happy they don't have fucking running water at this point. Honestly, like, they're probably like, yeah, no, we're good. We don't need the white man's
78%
water.
of women want to date a man who is as educated or as employed as they are. This is just a straight up imbalance. And this is what I've called the tall girl problem. So, Chris Williamson, he is an entrepreneur, former club promoter turned podcaster with more than 70 million downloads.
How did I get here? I was born into it. Like, you were born into money.
I've been chronically unpopular throughout all of school.
Making you unpopular because you were a fucking
compromised
douche.
an awful lot of who I truly was to try and just be as popular and successful in that world as possible.
What a
But there was
fucking pussy.
ambient sense that something is broken with me. In a journal, I've got a couple of different entries.
It is.
But I think I'm losing. 15% of men say that they have zero.
You're an
close
ugly
friends.
person.
Where did we go wrong? The
I have-
world of
I'm gonna
social
stop saying that.
connection has been made less and less social. The single biggest predictor of your health outcomes in life are.
I'm
the
gonna
number of
stop
close
saying that I don't have friends because
connections.
I have
What goes to the gym,
amazing
what can stop you
friends.
drinking. People that are in relationships
Absolutely
with better health outcomes.
amazing friends.
But
Like,
1 in 3 men between the ages of 18 and 30 hasn't had sex in the last year. 80%
And-
of men report not approaching a woman because they are scared of being seen as creepy. And
'Cause you
by
are.
2040,
'Cause you're
45% of 25 to 45-year-old
and if
women
you
will
are
say
only going
that
to talk to me with
you can
the
start
thought
to
in
see
mind
how this
that you could
imbalance
potentially
was a problem.
have sex with
This
me,
is a very difficult
and
conversation.
otherwise,
The
as
first
soon
thing
as that
we need to
fucking
do
is not possible, then you want nothing to do with my
Before this episode
existence,
starts, I have a small favor to ask from
then
you.
yeah,
2 months
you're a
ago,
fucking gross
74%
piece of
people
shit.
that watch this channel didn't subscribe. We're now down to 69%.
So
My goal is 50%.
I genuinely,
So if
like,
you've ever liked any of the videos we posted, if you like this channel, can you do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe button?
I feel
It helps this
so
channel more than
bad
you know, and the bigger the channel gets, as you've seen,
because
the bigger
people
the guests
like
get.
fucking
Thank you and enjoy this episode.
Alex and people like Mentor, these are the guys that are genuinely nice guys. And they're like, what am I doing wrong? I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. You're not doing nothing wrong. Keep doing what you're fucking doing. And just being a half-decent human being. Because that was one of the first things that Dom said to me. No matter what, me and you are partners. And Dom has never threatened to kick me out. Dom has never fucking ever, like, and I probably should treat him a little better, to be honest. Like, honestly, though, like, the amount of men who are literally only gonna have a conversation with females in the hopes that they're gonna get their dicks wet, like, and then as soon as that's not possible, they're like, well, what the fuck are we even talking for? Like, are you... And you wonder why that women don't want anything to do with you? Really? Like, pieces of shit. I genuinely feel bad because there's actually a lot of guys that are very, very decent men. But, like... But, like, if you think that the girl that you met on Tinder was about to be your fucking lifelong partner, well, maybe it's your standards that are the fucking problem. Maybe don't go on Tinder looking for a girl who's gonna be fucking loyal, trusting, like, and your dream girl is not on Tinder. I can promise you that. Then you get fucking mad because it's like, oh, she's a whore. It's like, yeah, that's why she's on Tinder. Not because she wants a fucking life partner, you fucking psychopath. What the fuck is wrong with your brains? I don't understand what, like, why is there an entire generation of fucking parents that taught their kids you are only valued at what someone will pay for you? Oh. Oh. Like, even when I've been like really mean to Dom, like really, I was really mean to him, because I felt like eventually that was what was gonna happen. That he was gonna be like, okay, well, like, if you're not cleaning and if you're just depressed all the time, and if there's no chance of like, and he, like, but he's never starting to kick me out. He's never fucking even insinuated that I would ever be fucking thrown to the curb. Because we are very much in it. We are going to hopefully profit eventually together, but we also suffer together. We not just fucking dispose of people when they fucking aren't useful to us anymore. It's just fucking terrible. Like, and I don't think either of us are like, oh, one of us is eventually gonna make fucking buttloads of cash, and then just like the other person is like, no, can just fuck off and do whatever they want. I cannot believe this shit. Like, people are fucking terrible. Like, I just don't understand this fucking dumbass mentality of like, why do I have to do this to other people? To be like, do you like how that feels? No, you don't. So why do you think it's okay to do to other people? They go, oh, I get it now. It's like, fuck, you should not have to fucking do that. Man, that's so sad. Uh-oh. Cool.
When Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faces off against Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, it promises to be a fascinating political battle between two very different characters vying to shape Canada's future direction. On one side stands Mr. Trudeau, a charismatic figure who rode his famous last name and telegenic personality to the nation's highest of office. Yet Mr. Poilievre argues that behind the charming facade lies a leader drunk on power, expanding the machinery of government to satiate his own personal ambitions. In contrast, Mr. Poilievre represents himself as a populist firebrand, railing against elite institutions and vowing to restore power and economic freedom to ordinary citizens.
No,
In
he
this
won't.
video, Dr. Jordan Peterson engages conservative leader Pierre
He
Poilievre
wants
in a
to
detailed discussion about Prime Minister Justin
consolidate
Trudeau and
his
the future of
investment.
Canada. This interview offers
He
some
wants
rare
to
insights
secure
into
his
the clashing
investments in the real
ideologies
estate
and the
industry
contrasting personas of
before
two
they burn
political
it down.
heavyweights at the peak of their ability.
Or maybe they're the ones who are
Even those
burning
who
it
may
down.
disagree with Mr. Poilievre's perspective will appreciate the sincerity and substance that he brings to the table in this important debate.
Okay,
At
but
a
pointing
time
out
of
the
deep
fucking
polarization,
obvious,
such
like it's
candid
not
but also thoughtful discussions are just
being
all too
honest
rare
up
and
front.
deserve
It's just
our
pointing out what
utmost
everybody already
respect.
knew is
Let's
nothing.
turn to Trudeau.
For
And
some
to
reason,
say,
you guys are like,
these are
man,
your
these people
two,
on Kinky Bill.
the two people who you'll be
Well,
facing off
shit.
against in some real sense, and you do face off against quite regularly in the House.
I mean, when the House is in
What do you
session,
think of Mr. Trudeau?
they're not on vacation.
So I think he's an egomaniac. And I think everything he does comes back to his egomania. Even his political ideology. You really
Was he going to be a drama teacher? No.
Expansionistic
He was going to be the Prime Minister.
role of the state. It never comes back to
Finishing what his father started.
serving an individual objective other than to make him more powerful or his legacy more grand.
Yep.
So let me give you two examples. So
He wasn't going to be a teacher. He wasn't going to be an actor. He was going to be the Prime Minister.
Then he
Why?
simultaneously
Because his
increased
father was the
amount
Prime
you were forced
Minister.
to pay into the state savings plan.
Apparently.
He
It's the only fucking reason.
killed multiple pipelines. Then he invested state money in a pipeline.
Guess who got it
He
after?
attacked parents' ability to take care of their own
Putin!
children by removing tax
It was
barriers
already
for
built.
families with stay-at-home parents.
And he was
And
like,
then
yeah,
he
but they're
brings
too
in
dumb to
a government
understand.
program to replace
So we're
it.
going all
So what you're seeing there is just
national
it
energy.
sounds like these are utterly
And people are like, that, yeah, that's
inconsistent
fine.
positions. Yes, no, they're not. They're all very consistent. In all cases, what he does is takes away the
fossil
ability
fuels.
of business or individuals or families to do things for
Because
themselves,
what's
and
right
it requires they do things
after
through him.
Canada
state.
on the map?
And
Right across the water.
his ideology
Very
always
important
about
place.
creating
It's
a
Russia.
pretext in order to justify the state garnering more control over every aspect of your life. How you raise your
Yeah, but you
kids,
guys
how your
suck
business
it.
functions, what you see and say on the internet. He
It's like the
believes the
family
state
that
has
gets
to
the
be everywhere.
puppy, and then
always.
after a
That's
year they have
because,
like
as-
kids, and then
as,
the puppy
King Louis would say,
is tied
they
up out
pass it
back,
on.
and then they
The
bites
state
one of the
is him.
children, and they put
Well,
it
you know,
down because the dog
okay,
is a
let's-
vicious breed.
I got a couple of things to throw at that. The first is, I think it's a very dangerous thing to attack the man rather than the ideas. But you're making, as a rule of thumb, but you're making a case that in this case that can't be done because there is a personality trait that is uniting diverse policy decisions that isn't ideational or ideological even. It is in fact personal. And so my sense of Trudeau, initially, I was very upset with him, with his decision to run for Prime Minister, because I thought, well, you don't know anything.
What are you
And
talking
you're
about?
attractive
He's
and
been
you can
born
behave
and
well in
raised for
public,
this
and you have
job.
a charming facade.
He had
But you
one
don't know
job.
anything in any real sense, and there's no indication that you do.
Every
You're not
aspect,
particularly
he's
well
fucked
educated,
up.
and you're not particularly accomplished, and this is actually a hard job. But worse than that, the only reason you even have the vaguest possibility of
It's fine.
succeeding is because you have the same last
Yep.
name as your father.
Yep. And that's
And
not a
so-
conflict of
and then
interest.
you
I don't know
ran,
what
and
it is.
I thought, well, how do you justify that to yourself?
No, because me and my sister cannot work at the same coffee shop.
Must have been painfully evident to him. And
That's
the fact that
conflict of
through your
interest.
name, you could say, well, the Liberal Party came to me. That's his justification. They came to me, and there wasn't another person that could win on the Liberal side. And
We should
better
go through the
a
same
Trudeau
fucking
Liberal, even
vetting
if it's a
process that we
consequence
all
of
go through for
family name,
employment.
than any damn conservative, let's say. But
No,
I
but
still
all
saw
of
it
you
as a
have fucking family
manifestation of
members
a really
that are
profound
politicians.
narcissism. I think a reasonable person would have said, I'm not prepared for this, certainly not yet, and I'm not the man that there needs to be in this position. So I don't know what you think about those musings, but that's how I looked at Trudeau, and I certainly haven't seen anything in
Yeah, but I wasn't around for
preceding
his
years
father,
that-
and I was super stoked to
that
vote.
disabused me
I
of
used
any
to
of
call
those
him my boy
notions.
JT. I was
Mr.
super stoked
Trudeau's
for Justin
approach to
Trudeau.
governance raises
Apparently,
some
his father was
concern,
a fucking
as
amazing
thinkers
man.
like Jordan Peterson
As
have
people who
pointed
were
out.
around when Justin Trudeau's father
While he
was
has
in power.
qualities that do
So he
appeal to
was
some, his
amazing.
policy
Justin
decisions
Trudeau's
seem
gonna be
more driven
just
by
as lucky,
consolidating
blah, blah,
personal
blah,
power
blah.
rather than grounded principles. Peterson notes that Mr. Trudeau entered office with relatively little experience. Relying heavily on name recognition, he was perhaps unprepared for the demands of leadership.
I think there's some truth in that. His victory was definitely not a meritocratic one. He's probably the least vetted ministerial candidate in our history. The media just glossed over so much of his life. to go straight to help him and protect him. It's
Oh
almost like they
no,
built
it's his
a
mother. This is all his mother.
cocoon
This is all Margaret Trudeau.
around him. And,
Sorry, Margaret Sinclair.
And, you know, like
Margaret Sinclair.
he had
Because
dressed
that's
up
her
in
maiden name.
grotesque
That's what
racist
happens when you get
costumes
divorced.
so many times. He says by his own claim, he can't remember them all. I mean, the average politician had done that once, would have been exposed, and that person would have been expelled from politics altogether. You know, but you know, he had run as a middle class champion, even though while he
You know what? I realized this when
inherited from his grandfather in a tax preferred
I thought I was getting a
trust fund.
sweet
All
deal
these
for a
things would have
job.
been
It was
front and
4 days,
center
10
in the
hours.
public sphere had it been anyone
Takes
other
you
than
twice as
Trudeau.
long to pass your
But he was
90-day
protected by the
probationary.
media who still
And
protect him
a day or
because he
two,
really
they put me
is
on a
their
graveyard shift.
candidate. He
And I was
represents
like,
the political class.
but you guys know that
and
I can't do
establishment
that.
in Canada.
And they were like, well, switch your
Those who
shift with
profit
one of
off a
the
big,
one of your
bloated
coworkers. And I was just like, Bianca, can you
regulatory
switch
state,
shifts with me? And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
the
And she didn't
old,
show up for my shift.
Upper Canada aristocracy.
So I was paying
Know
into
that
union
he
dues
will
that whole
always
time.
deliver
So
for
I
them, and he
called my
has.
fucking
So
union up
he's
anyway.
delivered mightily.
And then
That's why
I
they're doing
talked
so
shit
well.
about my
That's why they'll
boss
fight tooth
to
and nail to keep him there.
his brother.
Why do you think he was and still remains?
And I was like, oh, sorry, I can't help you. And everyone was like, well, wait, who'd you talk to? I was like, so-and-so? He was like, oh, that's Errol's brother.
Charming and caring.
Like, you mean I just talked shit about my boss to his brothers as a union rep?
But it isn't obvious to me.
I paid into my union dues, though.
He seems to play the part
for like $5.
and he plays it well enough so that, well, many people, and this is true of people all over the world, certainly buy the
turnover rate is just so
why do you think
disgusting.
that is? And how do you combat that?
You don't.
Yeah,
That's
look,
the
he
big
is
joke.
charming. I won't deny that. And he's a good-looking
That
dude.
is the
But I don't think he's actually
zinger.
that popular.
that it is an
People forget,
epitome of
He got
joke on your life.
32% of the vote in the last election. 68% of those who cast ballots voted against him.
Yep.
That's the lowest. He got the lowest share of vote of any prime minister.
Everybody I know voted
in
for
Canadian
NDP.
history, and before him,
And they were
the
like, oh,
record was
Jack
set
Nixon's not ready.
by him.
He hasn't been around
The
long
previous
enough. It's
election,
like,
he got
no, he's
33% of the vote.
around for a long
He never
time.
actually reached the height, the vote share that Harper got in 2011. So
Harper was a
sometimes
pussy.
we think
He was
he's
a
an
warmonger.
extremely popular guy because of the adulation he gets from the mainstream media. But in fact, he's not that popular with ordinary Canadians. What he succeeded at doing, to his credit,
DuPont that
is
made
engineering a very efficient
peas
distribution
is
of
part of
votes,
the
so that with
Sinclair
32% of the vote,
family.
he got something like 45 or 46% of the seats. And that is the nut we need to crack. He wins a lot of seats with few votes. We win few seats with lots of votes. In fact, the last two elections, conservatives have beat him in the popular vote. We just haven't gotten them in the right places. So that's the change we need to make, and I believe we will make in the forthcoming election.
So you don't think that it is a preponderance of Canadians who have had the wool pulled over their eyes?
No, he's not. By any
He cheated.
objective analysis of the data, he's not an especially popular prime minister.
He cheated.
In fact, he's probably more on the side of an unpopular prime minister.
Oh, and guess
Canadians
whose
deserve
father
leadership that
also was
balances
part of
competent
fucking
governance with
Congress.
safeguarding personal freedom. We must advocate our principles while understanding those who see things differently
Like Jody
as
Royce
wise
and Real
voices
Wolf.
counsel.
Her
With
father.
open and
Buddy
earnest
Buddy was
dialogue, we can
fucking
thoughtfully
Kirito's
move
father.
Canada forward.
What about Mr.
Yeah, whole thing was a
Jagmeet
scam.
Singh, who, for our international watchers and listeners, is leader of the Canadian Socialist Party? And in some
Yeah,
sense,
well,
the
they
NDP
blackmailed him,
Democratic Party.
obviously.
In some sense, the person who holds the balance of power
No,
right now.
no, no.
Canada's House of Commons.
No, no, no,
Therefore,
no,
the
no, no.
keys in some
You
real
know?
sense to the federal government. What do you think about Mr. Singh?
I think it's
Well,
ridiculous
you
to insinuate that
right?
he
Why
was
does he
beat by the
exist? You've already got
Green
an
Party and
NDP
the
prime
PQ.
minister, a socialist prime minister in Justin Trudeau. So that means the Socialist Party has to try to figure out what to do with itself. And
Like the Green Party?
so far, Jagmeet has said, well, that they'll just support Trudeau in a coalition. And the problem is when you go back to the electorate, people are going to say, well, you're part of the same problem. Like I had a gentleman I was in Chambly in Quebec, lifelong NDP supporter, very upset with how life is. The guy was telling me he's had to reduce his diet to one meal a day because food is so expensive. And
Yeah,
he's
but
voting
some
for
of
the
you can
NDP
dare to lose a
side,
couple
the
of
NDP
pounds.
formed a
Like,
coalition with Trudeau, the guy who's caused
along
all
with your
this.
fucking
It's
fat,
going to be very hard
fat,
for Jagmeet
fat
to go to the
children.
people and claim that he represents anything other than the Trudeaupian status quo. And I think that in the next election, people will be looking for a drastic departure from Trudeau. So they'll be looking for the anti-Trudeau.
I was in the States, 3 months. I went to 50 cities in the last 3 months. And I talked during the Q&A period about, people kept asking, what's going on in Canada? And I said, well, you're not going to believe this, but our government and our media have told Canadians that MAGA-type Republicans basically tried to stage coup to destabilize our democracy. And
They
would ask,
did.
and this was Democrats and Republicans alike.
They
would ask,
did.
well, why would we do that? What possible motive, if we cared, which we don't,
Trump,
why
Clinton,
in the world would we possibly
turd sandwich,
destabilize
giant
Canada's
men
democracy?
shows.
And that is, well, I always felt, as a representative of Canada, I always felt like I was in some sense out of my mind, because I couldn't believe that I could present that complex of ideas as a reality. And that there wasn't just something wrong with the way I'm looking at the whole
This
situation.
can't
So
be
that's
really
really
happening.
awesome. So, well,
And then people are like, it was unprecedented. I'm like, I don't even know what the definition of
No, and
unprecedented
the
is.
NDP has abandoned the working class. They become another party of the elite, institutional
And
aristocracy.
then they promise all the poor people that they're also going to become rich.
Those with big salaries doing managerial work, and among many of whom have been able to work from home with fully protected salaries and incomes for the last 2 years, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with having. I don't begrudge anyone for having had that good fortune, but certainly if you are
Not when there's fucking 10 cities in every borough.
then you shouldn't be judging those.
Not when there's lineups
who are
inside of food
protesting
banks.
because they've lost everything over the last 2 years.
Yeah, but join the rest of us
That the NDP would
who
have
started with
actually
nothing,
stood for the downtrodden.
and then they're still
But
taking.
that is not what they really believe. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier when we were saying, the argument it isn't that the left, the socialist parties that really care about the downtrodden. The answer is of course not. That is the rhetoric. What they really care about is a powerful state and more progressive.
That's why they never talk about the lower class. They talk about the middle class. We have to secure the middle class because they're all the ones who are idiots who are going to keep everybody poor.
And that's what he did, which is exactly the opposite of what he was
A bunch of
supposed to
people
do, which is
who
care
are
about
desperate and
The
weak.
working class has been marginalized from energy policy to the convoy crackdown, all in the pursuit of hypothetical perfection rather than concrete results.
Yes, sir.
Being more
That's what happens when your whole fucking spiel is on your status
Our
symbol.
policies must deliver real benefits for real people in the here and now. The only way to earn the trust of Canadians who have been repeatedly sidelined.
You'll never hear them talking about the lower class because they don't care about the lower
Predators
class.
are one thing. Predatory people, other tribes, man, they're brutal. They're brutal. What about your predatory friend? Oh, that's pretty bad too. The friend who stabs you in the back, the person who betrays you. Well, how about when you betray yourself? Oh no. Well, what's the ultimate predator? What's the ultimate predator? What's the enemy
Man.
you harbor in your own heart who hates you? That's the ultimate predator.
Dr. John Peterson, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. Good to see you.
How's the tour going?
It's going great.
The white man
It's
is the ultimate predator
crowds
because he will literally
well dressed.
throw his own people under the
extremely
bus
positive, there for good
and say that
reasons,
it's for the greater good.
apolitical.
That's all they've ever done in history. All they've
welcoming.
ever done. When shit gets bad and they say we're all in it together, we work together,
Extremely well.
we get over this together.
I
Guess
spent
who gets
after
thrown under the bus?
meeting people is
Anybody.
being in a wedding celebration. I would say that's the closest thing I could.
What do you mean?
Why are you wearing your
Well, you go to a wedding and meet all the people you don't know, generally, and everyone's happy to be there, and they're all looking good because they dressed up for the occasion, and it's a positive event, and that's the closest analogy that I can
think of that would describe what's happening. So,
I don't watch news because it makes me
people that are
sad.
there
It's
are there
depressing.
because they're trying to put
Why do you
lives
think that
together.
is?
They are putting them together, and
They're not
it's
talking
working.
about me.
So everything about it is as positive as it can be, fundamentally. So yeah, it's going great.
I saw you took a
Yeah,
trip to
it's
the Tesla
closer as
factory.
and hope that
What were
everything
your
works
thoughts
out for the
after
best.
meeting Elon Musk? Did you get to speak too much?
I wouldn't say much. We spoke probably for 20 minutes in total.
Yeah, and that's all you
Not
needed to
really
realize how
privately,
fucking
but we were
dumb that
joking around.
dipshit is.
You know, that just barely gets you to know the surface of someone like Musk because he's an amazing person and
Ah.
nobody knows what's up with him, all things considered. But we
Oh,
saw his new
it's that
truck.
he thinks
He was
that he's
taking people out for a ride. I didn't.
and
I
he
didn't
lets
go out
people
for a ride.
believe that he's like
The truck's an
some
amazing piece
secret
of engineering. The factory is massive.
brilliant mind,
What do
and
you
he's
say about
just so
someone
dumb.
who built a functional electric car and then shot it into space on a
He
rocket?
didn't. He did not.
He's a singular person. But I thought it went very well. It was a very interesting
What?
evening. So I was pleased to be there, and we sort of walked around each other a bit.
Wait.
You guys interacted
No,
a bit on
I
Twitter.
can't. I
We
can't
seem to,
listen.
yeah.
What do you think that is? Why are you converging?
I cannot listen to this.
I don't know. Exactly.
I'm. Are you trying to tell me? No. He did none of those things. He had money, and he invested into groups that claimed they did those things, and even they didn't do those things because it's been done like a century ago. It was like the first electric battery was in like the 40s or something. It's just like it was Starlink, oh, like Bell satellite dishes from like the 90s. They're not weatherproofed at all. What do you think all these UFOs people are seeing are? They're not UFOs. It's like, what? They're not UFOs. They're all Elon Musk's stupid fucking satellites that were shot into space over the past few years. Hundreds at a time. For a stupid Starlink shit. And the stupid satellites don't stay on the roofs. And like they're not weatherproofed at all, so they get any kind of like ice or snow on them. I like the REM. You have to go on your room, you have to chisel fucking ice off your satellite. What a brilliant mind. Oh. 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 Really? I thought you were driving something nicer. You work at the bank, sir. You have a very, very fancy suit. Why are you driving that hunk of crap? Oh, probably because it's on the DL and probably doing illegal shit on the side. That's what I'm assuming. Well, like, I feel like the cops should maybe stop going after black 25-year-olds and Jaguars and start going after, like, Dodge Caravans. The guy who walks out of it wearing a pinstripe suit. Jesus Christ. Wow, you guys suck so hard. I cannot understand why everybody thinks that Elon Musk is in any way not Fort Leatherton. Just a joke. It took 20 minutes to figure out how much of a genius he is. Goody. Can't imagine what you're fucking gauging that on. Everything he does is so stupid to me. And it all started with that armored truck. Where he's like, oh, the windows can never be broken. Rock, window, shattered. And people are like, oh, out. It's not very, like, oh, wait, let's try again. And now they're like, yeah, but he's a genius. I'm like, but we know how to make glass that is not breakable. Not only that, he went for round two. The same people who get caught for doing something, and then they double down. They're like, yeah, well, I had to do it. It doesn't make it better. Oh my god, I can't. Okay. People are the worst. Everything is coming to you. Fucking. Oh, fucking horrible shit. A lot of people fucking deserve it. It's been a long fucking way coming. Stuff like so many people have just suffering across this with already got shit in this. I think I'm done with fucking 100 people dying. It's like I'm done with fucking 300 elderly people who are left to die now. Shit, this fucking government. Just change some doors and all that. What do I do? Yeah. Why is your car so ugly? I feel like I'm taking the car such disgusting colors. It's like the school scheme. Why do we? Oh. I'm in China. I'm in China. Xi Jinping forever. Not just credit score, just went up. All these things. Weird. Stroke out. Ugh. I don't believe the saying Elon Musk is a fucking genius. I just can't. Whoever Continue the conversation. It's a break on my I should get my pennies. I was starting stacks of pennies. Pennies and gangster shit. Oh no. No. Oh. Oh, come on. There's one for this. Last one. And it's gone. What do they call it? Slowly. Mm-hmm. Ooh. I love her. She's great.
We have the privilege of engaging in a conversation with journalist and founder of the new media outlet, Libre Media, Mr. Jérôme Blanchet-Gravel. Today, we are delving into recent events concerning the removal of certain articles with hateful and discriminatory content from the newspaper in Montreal and Quebec. For those of you who do not closely follow opinion articles, numerous columns published during the pandemic period, authored by columnists such as Richard Martineau, Sophie Durocher, Denise Bombardier, Loïc Lancé, Mario Dumont, and José Legault, were withdrawn from circulation. These malicious columns depicted unvaccinated individuals in a degrading, hateful, and defamatory manner. It is particularly surprising to observe a media outlet attempting to erase articles from its archives, especially in the midst of the summer when attention is focused elsewhere. Consequently, numerous citizen reactions have gained viral traction on social media platforms regarding these now inaccessible texts. Additionally, Libre Media published two articles, the first on August 7th and the second one on August 9th, addressing this issue. The phenomenon was also discussed on radio station Choix Radio X on August 8th. During his investigation, Jérôme Blanchet-Gravel sent an email to both Le Journal de Montréal and Le Journal de Québec on August 7, seeking to comprehend the reason behind these removals. In response to this inquiry, the Journal de Québec cited on August 8 that an automatic deletion policy is enforced after 18 months of publication. However, inconsistencies persisted. After all of this, the articles have magically reappeared and are now available on their platform. This is not only contradict their supposed deletion policy, but also raises several questions. To delve deeper into this matter, I now yield the floor to Jérôme Blanchet-Gravel.
Dans le fond, ce sont des internautes qui ont attiré notre attention sur un certain nombre d'articles publiés par Québécois durant la pandémie qui étaient dirigés contre les personnes non vaccinées, mais également contre ceux qu'on appelait les touristes tata, les Covidios, etc. Donc, les internautes ont sorti eux-mêmes, en fait, là, par une sorte de journalisme citoyen, que ces articles-là n'étaient plus disponibles. Donc, l'Immonésia a fait sa propre enquête, a fait ses vérifications, s'est aperçu le 6 août dernier que oui, un certain nombre d'articles publiés par les internautes n'étaient effectivement plus disponibles. Les listes étaient assez longues, donc on parle de dizaines d'articles publiés sur le site du Journal de Montréal et le site du Journal de Québec. Donc des articles publiés par exemple par Richard Martineau, Sophie Durocher, Loïc Dansé, Denise Bombardier. Donc, c'était des articles, des chroniqueurs vedettes, donc un certain nombre d'entre eux n'étaient plus disponibles sur le net. L'Immonésia a sorti cette nouvelle, donc un article au général pour dire regardez, pour attirer l'attention publique sur ce phénomène-là. Au même moment, l'Immonésia a demandé des explications au Journal de Montréal et au Journal de Québec. Donc, ça avait eu un deuxième article qui a été publié le lendemain, le 7 août. Et dans cet article-là, on explique un peu la réaction du Journal de Montréal, en fait, les explications du Journal de Québec, c'est-à-dire le Journal de Montréal qui, lui, n'a pas répondu. Et là, on nous apprend que la situation des articles ne relevait pas d'une politique éditoriale, d'un choix éditorial, mais plutôt d'une politique d'expiration des articles. Donc, pendant une certaine période qui couvre l'essentiel de la pandémie, des articles avaient une date d'expiration après 18 mois. Après 18 mois, des articles disparaissaient comme ça. Donc, et apparemment, ça, c'était pas dû à un choix éditorial, mais vraiment plus à une sorte de politique numérique très floue dont on n'a pas voulu nous donner de détails. En fait.
Donc, vous avez publié 2 articles, vous avez même été parlé de ce phénomène sur Radio X. Il y a eu beaucoup d'interventions par des citoyens qui ont été très virales sur les réseaux sociaux. Suite à ça, qu'est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire par la suite? On a vu que ces articles-là étaient revenus et disponibles.
Ben oui, c'est ce qui est arrivé. C'est-à-dire que entre le moment où l'Indonésia a dévoilé ça, c'est-à-dire en fait, oui, a rendu publique l'information sur laquelle des articles dirigés contre des non-vaccinés étaient disponibles. Entre ce moment-là et le deuxième article, en fait, le début de la rédaction du deuxième article, on s'est aperçu que des articles, oui, étaient réapparus, notamment celui presque célèbre, en fait, sous Mario Dumont, le passeport vaccinal, c'est la liberté, dans une formule très, très orwellienne. Donc, on était vraiment dans 1984. Donc, cet article-là, qui n'était plus disponible lundi, il était de nouveau mardi. Donc, là, ça a été noté aussi dans notre article de précision. Pourtant, cet article-là, de même que celui qui a intitulé Rouvré-Gagnon, de Mario Dumont également, ces articles-là sont censés être disparus en raison de politique de suppression. Apparemment, le Journal de Québec m'a informé que le passeport vaccinal, c'est la liberté, avait été définitivement supprimé le 28 novembre 2021. Et donc, c'était censé être irréversible. Donc, pourquoi on nous parle d'une politique de suppression des articles après 18 mois de manière relativement automatique, alors que les articles apparaissent? Donc, on voit en fait qu'il y a des incohérences dans la version de Québécois, des incohérences assez manifestes. Donc, les gens peuvent lire mon article pour détailler toute cette situation-là. Mais c'est quand même très étrange, là, vous l'admettrez, de voir des articles réapparaître alors que le Québécois se fait très critiquer sur les réseaux sociaux. On peut s'imaginer donc, que l'article de l'Indonésie a été viral lui aussi. Donc toute cette viralité
Okay.
Internautes
My goodness.
ont adopté un discours assez critique de Québécois en début de semaine. Donc, est-ce que Québécois a réagi face à ça et en fait un peu maladroitement en voulant dire, en voulant pas perdre la face, vraiment en disant là, il y a des gens qui nous critiquent, les gens nous accusent de vouloir vraiment effacer des traces assez gênantes, compromettantes. Donc, on remet les articles pour perdre la face. C'est peut-être ce qui est arrivé. Tu sais, moi, les bons médias restent dans l'hypothèse, c'est que lisez les articles qu'on a publiés. Les gens sont libres de faire leur propre opinion, mais c'est sûr que, comme je le répète, il y a beaucoup d'incohérences dans la version québécoise. Alors qu'on sait que Québécois a été un des principaux organes de propagande du gouvernement du Québec durant 2 ans et demi, avec une couverture vraiment épouvantable. En fait, là, il faut le mentionner, c'était d'une vulgarité éditoriale assez phénoménale. Je me rappellerai toujours de l'article du Journal de Québec où on avait photographié des élèves d'une école à leur insu qui ne respectaient pas les règles de distanciation sociale devant leur école. Donc, on parle de journalistes en caméra cachée qui photographient des élèves de 12, 13, 14 ans. Ça s'appelle votre enfant devant l'école, simplement parce que l'enfant va à l'école et n'est pas à 50 mètres d'une autre personne. On a vraiment un niveau de délire absolument incroyable. Moi, je vais au Mexique régulièrement. Certaines salles. Tout d'un coup, le Mexique est devenu une destination touristata. Le Mexique est un pays de 130 millions. Ils ont fini même par annuler, rappelez-vous, les vols Canada vers ce qu'on a appelé les destinations soleil. Donc, il y a plein de gens d'Amérique latine qui ne peuvent plus retourner chez eux pendant quelques mois, à même aller enterrer des morts parce que des gens, des hystériques du Grand de Montréal, avaient fait pression d'une certaine façon sur le gouvernement fédéral pour empêcher les touristes de sortir du Canada, aller au Mexique. Le Mexique est un pays de 130 millions. C'est pas juste une destination de soleil, c'est un très grand pays. C'était un délire absolument incroyable. Donc, pourquoi ces articles-là ont été supprimés qui couvraient exactement la période des touristes des COVID. Mais rappelez-vous, à l'aéroport de Montréal, des journées de TVA, il y a des gens qui sont dans l'aéroport, on leur fout une caméra d'en face. Oui, madame, vous êtes allé où? Vous n'avez pas honte d'être allé en voyage. Rappelez-vous quand même le degré de délire. C'est vraiment impressionnant. Sociologiquement, c'est incroyable.
Et s'il n'y a pas de moyens financiers qui sont procurés aux entreprises de médias, dans les médias privés, ben, comme n'importe quoi dans la vie, on disparaît, il n'y a pas de miracle en cette matière. Maintenant, qu'est-ce que l'avenir nous réserve? Pas avec demain en cette matière. Ben, je suis obligé de réitérer le fait que le marché n'est pas favorable. Les circonstances ne sont pas positives. Ainsi que j'ai peut-être depuis un certain temps.
Les Québécois connaissent aussi, vous savez, de très mauvais moment, c'est-à-dire que c'est un empire qui est un peu en train de s'effondrer d'une certaine façon. Je parle vraiment des médias de Québécois. On a vu que les états financiers de Québécois sont mauvais. C'est très difficile avec la transition numérique. Ça fait des années qu'on le sait, puis on sait que les subventions accordées par le gouvernement aux médias durant la pandémie, c'est un peu ce que sauver les médias durant 2 ou 3 ans de manière assez artificielle. Les subventions ont été une sorte de respirateur artificiel pour les grands médias. Donc là, maintenant, ces médias ne peuvent plus contracter, donc c'est doublement difficile pour eux de survivre dans un contexte de YouTubeisation du monde, si on peut dire ça. Mais il faut le dire, c'est pas une politique banale. C'est très rare qu'un média pilonne ses archives. En fait, ça arrive presque jamais. Il faut supprimer un article qui a été publié sans rectification ou sans nouvelle notice qui ajoute un nouveau contexte, etc. Il faut vraiment qu'il y ait un problème. Un média, et encore moins un grand média, ne supprime pas d'article. C'est ça que les gens doivent comprendre. Donc, il y a quand même quelque chose d'assez louche à ce niveau-là.
Pourquoi c'est important, justement, que ces articles-là soient toujours disponibles et qu'ils ne soient pas effacés?
Ça fait partie de l'histoire, ça fait partie de la mémoire collective. C'est-à-dire qu'on on voudrait avoir une réflexion sur ce qui s'est passé, ce qu'on appelle un post-mortem. On voudrait être capable de réfléchir sur des événements. Et au lieu de tenir une réflexion sur ce qui s'est passé, on préfère camoufler les preuves, supprimer les preuves, un peu comme des régimes fautifs qui, avant l'arrivée d'une autre armée, je ne fais pas des comparaisons historiques trop poussées, là, mais c'est sûr que ce n'est pas une pratique très, très chic. Quand on pilonne des archives, en général, on a quelque chose à se reprocher. C'est vraiment pas très chic. J'espère sincèrement que c'est que c'est une erreur numérique. Là, parce que si c'est vrai, c'est assez troublant. En même temps, c'est un aveu de culpabilité assez fort. Donc, d'une certaine façon, on peut penser qu'il y a des gens qui font un mea culpa maladroitement et sans l'avouer. Donc, c'est relativement positif pour ceux qui se sont battus pour leurs droits et libertés durant la crise, de voir que des gens qui admettent qu'ils ont échappé, comme on dit, pas à peu près. Là. Donc, il y a quelque chose de positif là-dedans, mais ça fait partie de l'histoire et les gens qui ont tenu ces propos-là doivent les assumer. S'ils veulent, ils peuvent s'excuser aussi. Ils peuvent faire des articles pour dire on est allé trop fort, on s'excuse, c'était pas super bon là, ce qu'on a fait. Ce serait mieux de faire ça que d'essayer de camoufler ce qui a été fait.
Est-ce que vous pensez que justement la publication de ces articles-là à connotation dégradante a en fait ouvert la porte à peut-être d'autres articles dans le futur qui vont avoir les mêmes types de connotations parce qu'on a laissé passer ceux-là qui ont déjà passé?
C'est le doute, c'est-à-dire ça crée un précédent qui est dangereux, mais au même titre le confinement crée un précédent pour les droits et libertés épouvantables. Donc la grande question pour le confinement, c'est de savoir si on va essayer de faire un confinement climatique. Essentiellement, bon, ça ne sera pas aussi net que ça, mais est-ce que les mesures sanitaires vont déboucher sur vont être remplacées par des mesures écologiques? En gros, là, c'est la grande question, c'est ça. Donc, on a un monde de limites où chaque petit geste compte, comme on dit. Donc, à chaque fois que vous sortez de chez vous, vous avez un impact sur votre environnement, sur votre milieu. Donc, si vous n'êtes pas en train de propager le virus, vous êtes en train de propager des émanations de donc vous êtes toujours en train de tuer du monde. Dès que vous sortez de chez vous, vous êtes en train de tuer du monde. On va vraiment d'être en vélo, là. Et encore là. Mais bref, c'est ça ce monde de la COVID. Vous êtes toujours en train de tuer des gens. Les asthmatiques, les feux d'artifice. Vous aimez les feux d'artifice, vous aimez que des asthmatiques crèvent parce que vous aimez la fumée qui tue des asthmatiques. Vous êtes très très méchant. C'est vraiment un monde de limites, là, de contraintes. Donc, ces articles-là créent un précédent dans le discours, dans l'idéologie, mais en même temps, il y a beaucoup de gens, quand même, il y a 30% de la population canadienne qui n'est pas du tout intéressée à se faire traiter encore de cette manière-là, de se faire insulter, de se faire pointer du doigt, etc. Donc, je pense que les médias, quand même, les grands médias, je ne peux pas dire qu'ils ont tiré des leçons de ça, mais ils sont plutôt méfiants parce qu'ils voient que sur les réseaux sociaux, il y a beaucoup de gens très hostiles finalement maintenant aux grands médias. C'est pour ça qu'ils perdent des plumes, qu'ils perdent des appuis, qu'ils perdent du public, du lectorat, des auditeurs. Donc, c'est à voir. C'est-à-dire que oui, on a créé un discours qui peut revenir, qui n'était pas nouveau. En fait, le discours fait non vacciné, c'est un discours qu'on aurait pu tenir sur les minorités ethniques dans un régime autoritaire. C'était pas très chic, là. On n'aurait jamais toléré, en fait, ce qu'on a dit des non-vaccinés, si ça avait été dit sur les minorités culturelles. Vous n'auriez jamais pu dire, par exemple, dans la minorité musulmane, ce qu'on a dit sur les non-vaccinés. Vous comprenez, vous auriez été dans un tribunal, vous seriez peut-être en prison, en fait. Vous ne pouvez pas faire ça.
Not only the society have treated unvaccinated as second-class citizens during the pandemic period, but also a lot of them have received and just fine from the police to just go out after 8 o'clock because of the curfew or just not wearing a mask in public. So if you want to contribute to fight those tickets, it's still the time. You can go on fightvaccinepassport.com and every donation will go to fight these injustices fine received from Canadians.
Yeah, we'll just use school and do whatever and be like, we'll hold a ticket and put it on the spot.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Reports. I'm Amy Goodman. The death toll from the devastating Maui fires has reached 111 and continues to rise as crews search areas in and around Lahaina. About 1,000 people remain missing. On Wednesday, authorities in Hawaii defended not activating emergency sirens during the wildfire. This is Maui Emergency Chief Kaminandaya.
The song that I mentioned earlier was used primarily for tsunamis, and that's the reason why many of them are found, almost all of them are found on the coastline. The public is trained to seek higher ground in the event that the siren is sounded. In fact, on the website of the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, the following guideline is provided. If you are in a low-lying area near the coastline, evacuate to high grounds.
Instead of using the sirens, emergency officials in Maui sent out warnings to people's cell phones, but many did not receive the messages because the power and cell service was already down.
For
Meanwhile,
fuck's
Hawaii's
sake.
governor, Josh Green, has proposed a moratorium on land transactions in Lahaina. He said, quote, "My intention from start to finish is to make sure that no one is victimized from a land grab." Hawaiians have been warning about wealthy outsiders attempting to buy up land after the fire.
How could the
Authorities in
internet
Canada
have
have
failed?
ordered all residents of the city of Yellowknife to evacuate as a massive wildfire approaches. Military aircraft will help evacuate some residents who cannot drive out of the city, which is the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories. The city is home to about 20,000 people. Yellowknife Mayor Rebecca Alty spoke Wednesday.
There's a possibility that without rain, the fire reaches the outskirts of Yellowknife by the weekend. It is approaching, but there's time to complete the community evacuation. It's being called now so we can allow people the opportunity to drive while the highway is open. The highway is subject to closures at any time, but it's likely that it'll be open until tomorrow morning. Conditions will be smoky, and residents should drive with caution and care.
A number of other communities in Canada's Northwest Territories have already been evacuated due to the fires. So far this year, fires have burned more than 33 million acres in Canada, more than double any previous season. That's an area equivalent to the size of Alabama or 9 Connecticut's. Here in the U.S., a federal appeals court upheld restrictions on the abortion pill mifepristone, the most widely used method of abortion in the United States. The Fifth Circuit Court sided with the
I guess
right-wing
this is
Texas
why I'm
judge
having
and
this problem.
plaintiffs who
So
argued
that's
the
good to know.
FDA improperly relaxed regulations on the pill to make it more accessible, and that it should only be used up to 7 weeks into a pregnancy and only issued in person. But due to a previous stay issued by the Supreme Court, mifepristone will remain available for now under current regulations while the case proceeds. The Justice Department's expected to appeal the ruling to the Supreme Court. In other abortion news, Indiana blocked a doctor who provided an abortion to a 10-year-old rape survivor from receiving a prestigious award. Dr. Caitlin Bernard performed the abortion for the Ohio patient last year and spoke out about it to highlight the cruelty and real-world impact of banning abortion. She was reprimanded and fined $3,000. More than 60 asylum seekers are feared dead after a boat carrying migrants was found drifting near Cape Verde off the coast of West Africa. The boat left Senegal over a month ago with 101 people on board. Most of the passengers were from the same Senegalese fishing village. Officials believe the boat may have been headed to the Canary Islands, which is part of Spain. According to the Spanish group Walking Borders, at least 778 migrants have died this year attempting to reach the Canary Islands. Defense chiefs from the West African regional bloc ECOWAS are meeting today and tomorrow in Ghana to discuss a possible military intervention in Niger, where the military seized power last month. The Intercept is reporting U.S.-trained officers have been appointed to head 5 of Niger's 8 regions under the new military junta. This comes as the United Nations is warning international sanctions could worsen a growing humanitarian crisis in Niger.
In Niger, our humanitarian colleagues are concerned about the potential impact of the ongoing crisis on the food security situation. Before the coup, over 3 million people were already severely food insecure, and according to the World Food Programme, some 7.3 million food insecure people could see their situation worsen due to the unfolding crisis. Humanitarian exceptions to sanctions and border closures are required to avert a rapid deterioration of the food security and malnutrition situation.
In other news from Niger, at least 17 soldiers have been killed in an attack near the Mali border. In recent years, the region has seen a surge in violence by groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. In Libya, at least 55 people have been killed in the heaviest fighting between rival armed factions so far this year. Over 150 people were injured before a truce took hold on Wednesday. Libya has been in a state of crisis for over a decade since the 2011 NATO-backed operation to topple Muammar Gaddafi. In Sudan, the army's second-in-command has said a plan to end the deadly conflict needs to be negotiated and a caretaker government must be formed as the fighting between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces rages into its fifth month. The UN this week issued a dire warning as the number of refugees who crossed the Sudanese border topped 1 million. In a joint statement, UN agencies said, quote, time is running out for farmers to plant the crops that will feed them and their neighbors. Medical supplies are scarce. The situation is spiraling out of control, unquote. Reports of sexual violence have increased by 50% since the start of the fighting, so this is likely a significant undercount of the true toll. This is the spokesperson for the UN Refugee Agency.
Out of the conflict in Sudan on the 15th of April, over 4.3 million people have been forced to flee. This includes over 900,000 refugees and asylum seekers who fled to neighboring countries, and 195,000 South Sudanese forced to return to South Sudan. Within Sudan, over 3.2 million people have been internally displaced, including more than 187,000 refugees already residing in the country at the start of the crisis.
A high-ranking NATO official has apologized after publicly suggesting that Ukraine could give up some of its land as part of a way to end the war.
There's nothing there. It is camouflage. That's why they're coming
made
here.
an initial comment during a recent forum in Norway. He said, quote, I think that a solution could be for Ukraine to give up territory and get NATO membership in return, unquote. Officials in Ukraine blasted against this comment. A woman in Texas has been arrested and jailed after threatening to kill federal judge Tanya Chutkan, who is overseeing the Donald Trump January 6th case. Security has been increased around Chutkan, a black woman who was appointed by President Obama and has issued some of the toughest sentences for January 6th rioters. Meanwhile, supporters of Donald Trump have posted online the purported names and addresses of the grand jury members in Georgia who voted to indict the former president and 18 co-defendants. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office has not said if any security precautions have been taken to protect the grand jurors. Meanwhile, Fulton County District Attorney Bonnie Willis continues to face an onslaught of racist abuse online, instigated by Donald Trump, who's repeatedly attacked her on the campaign trail, calling her a racist. On Wednesday, Bonnie Willis, who's the first black woman to serve as Fulton County DA, proposed the Trump trial begin March 4th. A local prosecutor in Kansas has withdrawn the search warrant used by police to raid the Marion County Record newspaper. The raid sparked national condemnation. In a statement, the Marion County attorney said there was, quote, insufficient evidence for the police to raid and seize material from the newsroom and home of the paper's owners. Items seized included computers and cell phones and hard drives that will now be returned. On Wednesday, the Marion County Record published its first edition since the raid.
Stereotypes aren't always racist, but then stereotypes are just true. That's usually what we're so upset about.
This comes as the community prepares for the wake and funeral of Joanne Meyer, the paper's co-publisher. The 98-year-old longtime journalist died Saturday, one day after the police raid on her home.
Wow.
The Sun said she died of stress.
Oh, wow.
In North Carolina, Republican lawmakers in the state Senate and House voted to override vetoes from Democratic Governor Roy Cooper and enact 3 bills targeting trans youth. One law bans gender-affirming care for youth, another bans transgender girls and women from playing on sports teams in middle school, high school, and college. A third law restricts how gender identity is discussed in schools. It's been described as North Carolina's version of Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. The group Equality North Carolina decried the 3 new laws as a slate of hate.
I thought
Hundreds of people marched to the school board of Miami-Dade County in Florida on Wednesday to
make the
protest
Special
changes
Olympics.
to how Black
Make the
history is
Trans
taught in
Olympics.
Florida schools.
Conversation over.
The new standards require students be taught about the benefits of slavery. One section of
Unless
the
you're calling
curriculum
people
states
who are
enslaved people,
some kind of,
quote,
like, freaks that
develop
don't deserve
skills
to
which in some
compete with
instances could be applied for their
regular
personal
people,
benefit,
you know.
unquote.
Trans
Florida
Olympics.
Governor, Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis has defended the new curriculum changes. Speakers at Wednesday's rally included Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, who made national headlines when he and his colleague Justin Jones were expelled from Tennessee's Republican-dominated legislative body. They have since both won their seats back in the Tennessee legislature. An emergency court hearing is continuing in Louisiana over calls for authorities to transfer children being imprisoned at the notorious maximum security Louisiana State Penitentiary, known as Angola, which was built on a former slave plantation. What? Advocates say children as young as 14 years old are being held in solitary confinement and are being deprived of their education. Most of the children are Black boys. This is Alana Odom, Executive Director of the ACLU of Louisiana.
Children are currently being locked away in cages at Angola. Children, not youth offenders, not juvenile delinquents, not throwaways, not people without value. Children are children. Children are being deprived of an education. Children are being deprived of humane conditions. Children are being shackled and handcuffed.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Naveen Shade. It's so wonderful to be back here in the studio with you, Amy, after more than 3 years.
It's absolutely amazing to be sitting side by side with you, Naveen. Welcome back.
Thank you. And welcome to our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Ooh, cool. Mm-hmm.
The Kansas Bureau of Investigations has launched a probe into last week's police raid on the newsroom of a local newspaper and the home of its publisher and co-owner, Eric Meyer. Police seized computers, hard drives, servers, and phones. Eric Meyer lived with his 98-year-old mother, Joanne Meyer, who was co-publisher of the family-owned newspaper, the Marion County Record. One day after the police raid, Joanne Meyer died at her home. The paper blamed death on the police raid, saying it had left her, quote, stressed beyond her limits. At the time of her death, Joanne Meyer was talking about the raid, saying, quote, where are all the good people to put a stop to this? She died mid-sentence as she expressed outrage over what happened.
So sad.
The raid reportedly stemmed from a dispute between the newspaper and a local restaurant owner who accused the Marion County Record of illegally obtaining information about a drunk driving incident with its owner. But it appears the newspaper had also been actively investigating Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody over sexual misconduct charges at a previous job in Kansas City. Details about that investigation were on a computer seized in the raid. During the raid, the police chief injured a reporter's finger while grabbing her cell phone out of her hand.
What the fuck?
Over 30 news organizations and press groups have published an